Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Village Board to order at 7:31 p.m. All trustees are present except for Trustee Stokebrand, who is excused. Has this meeting been publicly noticed?
The meeting has been properly noticed and posted according to law.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here and thank you for your time, talent, and patience in advance as we conduct business. We have two special orders of business this evening. For the first is an audit presentation by Sikich, and they are joining us virtually and I believe have a PowerPoint that they want to share with us, or maybe just speak to us.
I don't have a PowerPoint,
Okay. Wait,
but
you typically, but anyway, you're joining us on the screen in the hybrid format, and I will turn it over to you.
thank you. My name is Kellen O'Malley. I'm a director at Sikich. On behalf of Sikich, thank you for having us here this evening to present the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024 audit reports. As part of our audit process, we will be issuing 5 reports: the annual financial report, the board communication, and 3 TID reports. To date, we've received everything that we need to wrap up and issue the financial statements, and the final reports will be available at the next board meeting, in which the finance director will be available for any questions. When we issue an opinion on the financial statements, we need to follow 2 sets of standards set by the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. The AICPA tells us what procedures we must perform when we're conducting our audit, and we follow standards set by GASB. GASB is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and GASB sets the rules and regulations for financial reporting for governmental entities such as the village. I'm pleased to present that we will be issuing an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can provide on the village's financial statements. A few key highlights that will be in the financial statements is there was an overall increase in net position of just over 5.1 million. That includes governmental activities, which increased 4 million, and business type activities, which increased 1.1 million. We did record an error correction in this year's financial statements to record debt issued for the 2023 North Shore Fire Department bonds that the village has agreed to pay as part of their intergovernmental agreement. The general fund had an unassigned fund balance of approximately 6.9 million at year end, and the general fund had an overall increase in net position of just over 596,000. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has related to the 2024 audit.
Are there any questions? And so the report is not contained in our packet this evening, but it will be delivered to us. When will we receive a copy of the reports?
The final reports will be available this week.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you for your hard work. David, is there anything you'd like to add? Okay. Well, thank you. I know this is a lot of work, and I'm glad that it turned out in our favor, and it's another good year. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. 4B, North Shore Chamber of Commerce, Deputy Director David Christensen, and Operations and Engagement Manager Gwen Eckhart. A presentation this evening. Are you with us? All right. Please come to the podium and use the microphone and make sure you speak into the microphone as loud as possible.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Christensen. I'm the Deputy Director for the North Shore Chamber of Commerce. Gwen is unable to be here this evening, but I'll be here instead. The reason we want to address you tonight is the Village of Shorewood is one of our partners. Our organization covers the 7 communities from Shorewood over to Brown Deer. Recently, only a couple of months ago, we entered into a formal agreement with the Village of Shorewood, really just a mutual partnership, trying to benefit your businesses as much as possible. We work and have worked for the last few years with your bid, but really we see the partnership as being more than just how do we drive foot traffic to your streets, but how do we build mutually beneficial partnerships with our businesses from Brown Deer and Fox Point and Glendale and Whitefish Bay, and trying to form cohesive, form a community, really. We've operated for roughly the last 7 years as the Glendale Area Business Association. It was only a little over 2 years ago that we made the formal change to the North Shore Chamber of Commerce. That being because we had a uptick in the number of members from outside of the city of Glendale. And at this point, we now have a little bit over 300 members. The majority of them are going to be in Glendale, Whitefish Bay, and Brown Deer, with several in downtown Milwaukee, as far north as Green Bay, and we have one in Chicago as well. So anyone who does business in the North Shore, owns a business in the North Shore, or has employees in the North Shore, we want to try and provide resources for. I'm happy to also take any questions about what membership with the chamber for the village looks like.
All right. Thank you. At this time, I'll open it up to any questions or comments from the trustees. And this is an agenda for discussion or anything like that. So these may be questions that, require some follow-up at a later time.
Sure.
Trustee Persing.
I had the pleasure of meeting David at the CL opening ribbon cutting a couple of weeks back, and it was great because I had met David and some of the other folks within the North Shore Chamber, and I reached out to Rebecca and kind of talked to her a little bit about that experience, and I'm glad to see David in here and learn a little bit more about the North Shore Chamber. And I'm really interested to see how, because as a former president of our bid and a big supporter of our business community, I'd love to know what the collaboration is like between our bid and the North Shore, and is there what are the pros and cons of having two sort of organizations like that work together, or symbiotically, or in the same sort of world?
Absolutely. Good to see you again, Arthur. So yes, the way we've worked cooperatively both with the Shorewood bid and the Whitefish Bay bid is typically, I know those organizations are really good at driving foot traffic, putting on events that showcase those individual areas. My goal and my organization's goal is to bring outside traffic where we can. So typically that comes through hosting of events. We host a little bit over 45 events each year. They always rotate between different chamber members. We try and not duplicate year over year the same chamber members, just to continuously bring new life into the same businesses, retail shops, and things like that. So that's one path. The other aspect that our organization brings is an emphasis on workforce development. So that's something that I know bids don't typically operate in. But for example, we have a new program launching in January with Nicolet Union High School. They're going to be our pilot school, and then shortly after, Brown Deer High School has asked to be involved as well. But it's a new program called North Shore Works. It provides career-based learning experiences to students from elementary school up through high school. That can be everything from a classroom visit by an employer to a site visit, all the way up to youth apprenticeships. Nicolet's high school is already further along in that career-based learning experience journey. So they're heavily interested in trying to provide youth apprenticeships and internships where possible. Whereas a high school like Brown Deer, they're just getting their foot in the door with how do we make relationships with employers? How do we give our freshman students an opportunity to hear from a bank about career positions available to them post-graduation? So that's one area that I am very passionate about, and what we might do or might be able to symbiotically help with the Shorewood bid.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anything else? All right. Thank you very much for making the trip.
Absolutely.
I was actually in an organizing meeting this morning and the chamber came up in terms of we did in October, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we did a community panel and included the bid in circulating information to raise
Sure.
awareness and education. And we want to do it North Shore wide for next year, and the chamber would be a perfect example of how to get to a lot of different businesses
Yeah.
to bring them in rather than going municipality to municipality. So
Right. Absolutely.
you'll be hearing from us.
Perfect. Sounds great. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes special orders of business. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ursing, seconded by trustee Warren. I would like to pull the 5C. Is there any other discussion regarding the consent agenda? All right, hearing none. All those in favor for the consent agenda, with the exception of 5C, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6. I pulled the item, consider agreement for coastal assessment of Atwater Park. It was listed incorrectly, and we are looking for a motion to defer this item to a future meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? I guess you can be my second. How about I'll make a
Yep.
motion and
Gotcha.
any discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to vote no on this. Two main reasons. One, I mean, the original direction of the board to staff was to include this in the budget. I think that that's pretty important. And I think that's something that, we need to make sure sticks through next time. And I just don't like the precedent of not including an item due to an oversight that just doesn't feel right. And second, given everything we've learned about the issues with deferred maintenance, I think we need to be, disciplined about how we evaluate critical infrastructure, including the groins. They're due, if not overdue, for review. So I just have, I think we should stick to a schedule. We're not doing that, but that's why I'll vote no.
You'll note that, thank you for bringing that to our recapping the journey of this agenda item. And the reason why I didn't, why I said a defer to a future date and not specifically 2027, is that I am, it gives me pause how procedurally we've proceeded with this item. And I would like to take the opportunity to coordinate with the village manager to see if it can come back sooner.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, which is to defer this item to a future date, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So 2 opposed and 4 ayes. Thank you. Are there any citizens to be heard this evening? This is for matters not on the agenda. All right, hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to new business where we have one item, 9A, consider ordinance 3077, allowing the police department to impound vehicles used in the commission of reckless driving. So this comes to us from the chief of police, as well as the Parks and Open Spaces Committee with the recommendation from the Bike Ped Subcommittee. Typically, we have often we will have ordinances go through committee before coming to the full board. If the board feels comfortable taking action this evening on as it's presented, I will take a motion to do so. Otherwise, we can refer it to the Public Safety Committee for further review. Yes.
I'd like to move to recommend approval of ordinance 3077.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ursing, seconded by trustee Kudo. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a couple questions on it.
Mhm.
I noticed that the ordinance itself is, I'm fully in support of the ordinance, to be clear. I just noticed that it seemed to read kind of vaguely to me, just kind of what are the standards for vehicle impoundment themselves? What's the fine that's going to be levied when someone's vehicle is impounded? I'm wondering if this is something that, I assume that we'll pass this ordinance tonight, support that. But is it something where we need to spell out a little bit more clearly, what kind of reckless driving creates the opportunity for impoundment and kind of what the exact penalties for impoundment? Are they somewhere that I'm missing within the statute?
So all of the reckless driving statutes are defined within the ordinance by state statute
Okay.
that are applicable. The fines are driven by Leader Towing or our towing company.
Okay.
So the associated fine for the citation is also set by the state of Wisconsin Department of the fines are set by the state of Wisconsin. So the would have to pay the forfeiture and the impoundment and storage costs to Leader. I don't know what those are off the top of my head, but they're not arbitrary numbers. They're fixed
Okay.
numbers based on Wisconsin state statute.
So it'd be kind of accommodate, basically be the cost of, essentially I assume there would be some sort of penalty in the cost of towing, the cost of storing.
It's built into the fine, yes.
Okay. And also a follow-up from so for any reckless driving offense defined under the state statutes, which I realize now I should cross-reference, that's when vehicles would be,
Correct.
Okay.
Discretionary impoundment.
okay.
And so yes, trustee
I have a
Montgomery.
question too. How often do we make arrests or issue citations for reckless driving in Shorewood?
Very rarely. Most of the reckless driving citations that have been issued in Shorewood are related to vehicle pursuits, typically associated with stolen vehicles.
Mhm.
So, and maybe this is getting,
Please.
Wes. No.
so maybe this is getting too deep into it, but so I assume that given that we don't see that, assuming that it's somewhat discretionary, but I'm assuming that if we're going to impound vehicles, we're going to do it just kind of across, we're going to apply the same standard. What I'm considering. For not impounding one vehicle A, but impounding vehicle. Trying to find a good way to ask.
Okay. I guess I'm not sure how to answer that because the ability to tow cars is discretionary. It's written into the act.
Okay.
So we want to be careful not to eradicate discretion by the officers based on the circumstances.
Agree.
But also this is a secondary tool for the towing options that we currently have, whether it's prisoner's property or safekeeping or obstructed vehicles, those types of things. So this is just another tool. And all of those tools predominantly with the exception of obstructed cars, especially as it relates to construction or, snow tows or special events, those are typically not discretionary. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Kudo, did you have a comment?
No, I'm actually okay. Thanks.
I think I'm wondering if kind of a underlying question of Trustee Warren's question, or maybe this is just what makes me think of the definition of reckless driving. Is there risk of having too much discretion there where certain drivers might be more readily assessed as reckless driving versus speeding? Or is it clearly stated in the statute of what constitutes reckless driving?
It's clearly stated in the state statute.
Mhm.
It's a mouthful.
Thank you, President McKay. That's a much better way of putting what I was trying to say.
No, I think the any hesitancy is about, disproportionate impact. However, in this case, since reckless driving it's rare, it's usually part of a set of circumstances that are pretty clearly defined and of great concern. even though it doesn't occur that often in Shorewood, it seems like it's okay to take this, that I feel like our constituents would want us to take this step and that it would be supported.
I agree, and I support the ordinance. I mean, I would like to see if we noticed a lot of this happening a lot, or we didn't expect, see that, see the reasons behind that. But I'm assuming this is going to be a very tool in the toolbox, but one really.
Correct. And to be clear, if the board passes this tonight, we will practice at least or will employ a length of period as advisements and warnings as opposed to strict toes if we were to encounter these circumstances. We want to make sure that we get the information out to the public about the adoption of the ordinance, and that individuals who traverse through our village are aware that this is a possibility and a tool for us to further impound vehicles involved in reckless.
How long of a period of time?
Probably after the first of the year. There's a couple of things that we still need to do yet with the adoption of this ordinance, and that's create a form for our towing company that ensures they receive payment prior to release of the vehicle to the owner. And then just the publication. So with the holidays, it'll be after the first of the year.
Got it. Thank you.
I don't have a specific date for you, but after the first of the year.
Yes.
So, I mean, I seconded this, you know, I was happy to see it come before us. I am supporter of this ordinance. You know, we hear time and again from residents of the village how sort of fed up they are with their definition of reckless driving, although it may not meet the actual definition of reckless driving. You know, I expect that a police department, as it always has, to, you know, apply the law appropriately, equally amongst any of the folks that are in our community. But, you know, I see this as potentially a really important tool for this village to stand sort of strong and stand strong with the city of Milwaukee and letting people know that that type of activity, you know, reckless driving, not going to be tolerated. So I would encourage, you know, the department to use this sparingly, but use it appropriately as often as.
Agreed.
Because I think it's important for all of us as we continue to that they're just sick of people driving. So thank you for bringing this forward.
I want to pick up on something that you said, Trustee Kudo, because what was on my mind is I think this education about this ordinance is really important. Not only, it's almost as important to communicate what the ordinance does and what it means as what it doesn't mean. So I think that it gives us a really good opportunity to talk about statutorily what reckless driving includes and what speeding or perceived speeding is, that's not part of reckless driving, right? And so while it is a tool, it is very specific to your point, Trustee Kudo. And so it probably will not be applied perhaps as much as residents would like, but that's an ongoing conversation that we have to have.
Can I just say, and I'm sure this would happen when we roll this out, the department rolls this, would it be possible if the definition is long to include the definition of reckless driving so people do understand that just running a red light, or just not just but running a red light or speeding may not fall under definition of driving, some leeway given to the officers?
In the education piece?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Mr. Pendleton, I see you have joined us this evening, and I know that you are an advocate for this. Is there anything that you'd like to add or something that we haven't covered?
Yes, thank you, President McCaig. Sandy Pendleton, 3529 North Frederick Avenue. I am a supporter of the passage of this ordinance, and I want to thank the chief for all of the work that she has done on this topic and in bringing this forward promptly. I think within 30 days of the governor signing this into law. I really appreciate that. That said, I do think that it would be best practices for the village to have standard operating procedures for the police department to propose and the village board to consider what standard operating procedures there should be regarding towing vehicles in the village. I say that because the definition of what reckless driving is in the Wisconsin statutes, 346.62, is incredibly broad. It says no person may endanger the safety of any person or property by the negligent operation of a vehicle. I, as somebody who walks and bikes and drives in Shorewood, see people violating that standard every minute of the day that I'm out on the streets. So it's a very broad statute. And yes, we entrust our police officers with discretionary decisions at all times. But this is kind of different because when we choose to impound a person's car, we are doing that before the allegedly reckless driver has had his or her day in court, right? There's been no adjudication yet. And before that owner, who may or may not be the driver, can get his or her vehicle out of the impound lot, that owner must pay the towing charge and pay whatever the daily fine is. And I think in Milwaukee, at least, it's like a $150 towing fine, and it's like a $25 a day storage fee. So that can really add up. And if the person is, for whatever reason, unable to pay that amount after 90 days, the statute says the car is considered abandoned and the village can proceed to then sell the vehicle, and none of the sale proceeds go back to the owner. So that said, what I'm suggesting is that we have standard operating procedures in Shorewood for two reasons. One, it's fair to people who are just alleged to be engaging in reckless driving, haven't had their day in court yet, and it's fair to the owners. And two, when we give an officer discretion, that's appropriate, but there should be standards which the police officer can articulate that say, this is why I chose to tow Mr. Pendleton's car, whereas I didn't tow all of these other ones. We can have our standards be similar to those, I think, adopted by other communities. But I would suggest that even if the ordinance is passed tonight, if that's what the board chooses to do, that in a month or so, this issue come back to the Public Safety Committee with to discuss the issue of whether there should be SOPs, and if so, what those SOPs should be. And just one last point, and I'll be very quick, President McKay. If we don't have standards, we open ourselves up potentially to a claim that we are depriving someone of their property without due process of law. And that can lead to either invalidation of an ordinance, or it could lead to a Section 1983 claim against the village. And though that's probably unlikely, I think that's something that having an SOP, a well thought out, well-crafted SOP, lessens the risk of. Thank you for the consideration of my thoughts.
Thank you.
I'd like to respond.
Please.
To be clear, the police department has a standard operating procedure related to the towing of vehicles, which would include the adoption of this ordinance with standards set forth and equitable given the circumstances. Adjudication of citations is separate and independent of the issuance of citations and are conducted by the district attorney's office or municipal courts. The standard operating procedures are the sole purview of the police department and written with best practices in mind, generally driven by Lexipol, which is an arm of the International Association of Chiefs of Police. That's where we derive most of our policies from, with slight tweaking so that they're applicable to the Village of Shorewood. But I've done some research, and we would adopt language that is consistent with other municipalities that have also adopted this ordinance to ensure that our practices and policies are both equitable and legal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Attorney Bear.
Thanks. And just to piggyback on that, there's a state statute on 349-115 that already, cross references some other portions of the Wisconsin statutes that govern the process and the authority to impound vehicles. So there is already processes in place. This just expands the ability of a municipality or a police department to impound a particular vehicle for violating this particular statute. So it just sort of increases the umbrella under which, certain vehicles can be impounded. So there's absolutely those municipal processes, or those procedural processes, I should say, in place that govern, how you get it back, how you appeal, and also if there's a stolen vehicle, there's an exception in the statute for that. And there's, each department has a process where they check whether the vehicle is stolen, and it would not be subject to the impounding if that's the case. So this is really going to apply to the most extreme cases. You've got somebody crossing the street with a baby carriage, and somebody blows through a stoplight and clips the end of the carriage, and everybody's obviously if there's a personal injury, that's another charge. But they just whisk by somebody crossing through at 80 miles an hour. That's generally what we're talking about when we're talking about reckless driving. And there's also specific definitions in 346-62 that tell us, that expand on what it means. And so the police department here and elsewhere in Milwaukee County and around the state has been giving citations for reckless driving. They've already been trained on that. They know what it is. They know how to see it. They know how to spot it. And, like the chief said, there'll probably be some follow-up with the department on letting them know of this expansion and how. But yeah, I mean, those concerns about process and making sure that there's administrative policies in place to protect those, who have their property seized, those are all existing under the state law. This just expands the umbrella of the types of vehicles that can be impounded. So once it's impounded, all those other processes that are already in place they take over, basically, is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, procedurally, we have a motion on the floor to adopt the ordinance as presented. We have some public comment. We have a response by the police chief and some additional context from the attorney. So at this time, I would close deliberation and ask for us to take a vote on this, unless there is any motion to amend. All right, hearing none, this will be a roll call vote.
Trustee Ardorfer,
Aye.
Trustee McGovern,
Aye.
Trustee Kudo,
Yes.
Trustee Ursink.
Aye.
President McKay,
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
That concludes new business. Moving on to report of village officials, village president. Nothing to expound on this evening. Any village trustees? Yes.
So today is the first day we can circulate papers for re-election, and I wanted to be the first to tell everybody here that I, in fact, am interested in running again for another term as a trustee, and I would appreciate everybody's support here. And hopefully you guys will sign my nomination papers, but it's been a true honor, and I look forward to another 3 years here in Shorewood.
Me too. That's great news. Thank you. Any other reports from trustees?
I know we said this before the meeting, but heck of a good job from DPW for snow removal. Chief was here, over said good job to the police department as well. But the roads were clear and passable, even for smaller cars than mine. But it was just a really nice job, and I didn't see any accidents. I was out and about because I was comfortable driving, but I thought the village did a really nice job of clearing everything, and everyone in the community did a really nice job of shoveling their sidewalks and clearing out crosswalks. There are a number of residents that are disabled or sight, ambulatory, whatever, and everyone was out walking and enjoying. So nice job for the village of Shorewood.
Thank you. Agree. Any others? All right, hearing none, the village manager has included a water rate case public hearing packet, which about 150 pages of our 200-page packet.
And on the cover page should be just the basic notice and outline of what to expect. We're also going to be printing a postcard tomorrow, which should be in the mail at the end of this week, early next, advertising the public hearing and the public's availability to join that PSC public hearing regarding the water rate.
Thank you very much. Moving on to future items of consideration, we have the one this evening, allowing shields at intersections and or adjusting the alignment of the fixture, retrofitting light fixtures on Lake Drive so they match the rest of the village, and adjust settings on Lake Drive to something lower than factory setting. This was submitted by Trustee Stokebrand, who was not able to be here this evening. At this time, I would take a motion to approve this item of consideration and direct it to the Public Works Committee.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Trustee Kudo, seconded by Trustee McGovern. Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I would support the first part of this on its own. I don't really favor the second part, the piece regarding the settings on Lake Drives.
Mhm.
If I have to take it in totality, I
And
would be on that.
that would be fine. I think that to keep in mind that this is just to consider the item for discussion.
You can always
at
send your
committee.
thoughts over to us and we'll.
Yeah. So you still don't have to vote yes on it, but I think
They
what-
mirror mine, so rest assured they'll be represented in committee.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to vote yes, just kind of going the other way around, which is supportive when it comes to the second piece, but it's worth the discussions.
Same here. So yes.
I would also like, if possible, for you guys to kind of think about, do you want to get rid of dark sky light fixtures and go back to the old?
No.
If that's going to be some sort of consideration, given that phase 2 will be starting soon, contract will be awarded sometime in early January. If we do decide to go that route, I need to know that before contractor orders parts. So it's just something to think about.
When does the contractor order parts?
So
Given this timeline?
after contractor gets awarded the project, they order the parts essentially as they get notice to proceed.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
I just want you to think about it
Okay.
because it's something that I will bring up to the committee when we do discuss it. It's just something that I just want everybody to be aware of, that it will be something that will be discussed.
And I think that it can come to committee
Yeah.
without taking action.
That
as
was my
part of this
suggestion.
one.
Can we bring that to committee as well?
It
And
doesn't have to come, it doesn't have to be approved by the board to come to
No,
committee. So
no, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware.
appreciated.
any update on the recalibration? Nope.
Out of
Agenda
scope.
out of scope.
Yeah.
Sorry, he was here. I
I
tried.
know.
You can
I
ask
know.
me afterwards.
Wanted
Yeah.
a little taste of what was going on in the
I know.
space, but I got it.
Not on my
Talk
watch.
later.
Okay.
You can ask me
Thank you.
later.
I got you.
Thank you, sir. All right. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, which would be to send this item to committee, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries 5-1. Yeah. All right, now I would look for a motion to go into closed session.
I move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1E to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties where competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss prospective properties, the new DPW site.
Second.
All right, although actually this will be a roll call vote.
Trustee Kudo,
Yes, please.
trustee Warren,
Aye.
trustee Arndorfer,
Aye.
trustee Ursink,
Aye.
President McCaig,
Aye.
trustee McGovern.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0.
All right, we are now in closed session at 8:10. And so, yeah, we'll close the doors.
Right. And so for those of you who are watching the recording, we're going to be stopping the recording, adjourning into closed session with no further action anticipated after closed session, and then adjourning. Have a wonderful night.
Great. And with that,